Kyler Gordon opens up about his pending contract situation with the Chicago Bears and the could-be contract extension. Talk a little bit about that. Plus, the Bears' evaluation of Braxton Jones and his ability to develop under the new regime is going to be hugely important for what the Chicago Bears do at number 10. We're going to talk about that all and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into the content for today, y'all. We got two contract extensions to talk about. One in a player that's been here for a while in Kyler Gordon, and one in Joe Thuney, who the Bears just acquired, but could be up to a contract extension, especially if the Bears want to lock in the former Pro Bowler. So with that said, let's start off with Kyler Gordon, right? Kyler Gordon had comments yesterday in which he was interviewed, and he talked about his pending contract extension with Chicago. He said this: I love Chicago. I love everything about it. The people, the history, the team, the community. This is where God is telling me to be. This is where I will be. It's where I want to be. As far as an extension, we'll see what happens. I've got no control over that, but God will. So it seems like, look, when it comes down to it, right? And Kyler Gordon also saying that, that he's extremely happy if an extension were to happen. As far as a contract extension needing to get done before the season, kind of seems like it is what it is on it. And that's the right mindset to have. And when you look at what Kyler Gordon has brought to the table, right? I do think the Bears are going to extend him if I just had a bet on it, right? Kyler Gordon is the type of player that you extend. He's not only was drafted here by this regime, if that matters to people, right? But he's also gotten better every year. And I think Kyler Gordon as well, when you look at a player that found the perfect role for him being at that nickel has been so important for the Chicago Bears. You look at how that's opened up his ability to be used to be in the pass rush as well, in the running game where he stops up and breaks up tackles as well. Kyler Gordon's a guy that just has really improved every single year and has left everything out on the table, right? Kyler Gordon performs extremely well. 48 solo tackles last year, 5 passes deflected, 1 forced fumble as well. This is a guy that just a half a sack last season. And I think now with the Bears probably going to blitz more under Dennis Allen, I look at how he's going to perform under a coach like Dennis Allen and how Dennis Allen is going to be bringing the same, base 3-4, but a more aggressive style within that, and how that really fits Kyler Gordon, right? I think you want to lock in as many players that are answers for you. Now, of course, the money's going to come on down to that, but Kyler Gordon seems like he has a really good level mind about what the future holds for him with the Chicago Bears and what he wants to bring to this team. Kyler Gordon brings the excitement. He has the personality. He brings everything just about, and he's not too bad in coverage either. And I say that, jokingly, he's really good in coverage. Kyler Gordon just is a player that you look at, why wouldn't you want him back? Why wouldn't you want Kyler Gordon back on your team, right? And so, the Bears and Ryan Poles, even in the press conference, they've already talked about how they're in a position to, what they're doing and how they're manipulating the money, getting ready for Caleb Williams' possible extension. And they have that. Kyler Gordon had an overall grade of 76 last year. That puts him at 20th among 223 qualifying quarterbacks. Now, again, PFF grades aren't everything, but, you look at that, right? You look at his run defensive grade of 76.5. His coverage grade of 76, right? This is a guy who just outwardly, I know he doesn't get the interceptions, and some people look at cornerbacks and they try to judge it by that. But if you look at qualifying cornerbacks, he's 30th in solo tackles, 4th in assisted tackles, 11th in forced fumbles, 6th in stops, 6th in sacks, right? He doesn't miss a lot of tackles, only 10 missed tackles last year, which would have puts him at 185th. That's low, right? That's where you want him to be at. So when you look at it as well, like the passer rating allowed of 102.4, 68th in the NFL. Now, again, like I said, these numbers aren't the end-all, be-all, but you look at these and you understand what the versatile weapon Kyler Gordon is able to be in the NFL, right? Second in total pressures buy a cornerback in the league. So, when it comes down to it, Kyler Gordon is just a monster, man. 724 total snaps played last year, right? That guy, he plays. He's for the most part a healthy player as well. Yeah, he had some injury concerns last year, which you can't take away from. But Kyler Gordon is a player, 15 games played last year, 13 the year before that, 14 the year before that. Kyler Gordon is the type of player that you extend. And he's the type of player that you continue to find ways to use his unique skill set. And I think with the new coaches that we have here, which is going to bring new eyes on how to use Kyler Gordon on top of the extra added aggressiveness that we're going to have in our play calling defensively, we're going to blitz more, which means that we're going to be able to bring Kyler Gordon even more, use his speed, right? Run blitzing is a thing that Kyler Gordon excels at. So when you look at all those things, yeah, Kyler Gordon makes a lot of sense for this team. I think they're going to do similar to what happened with DJ Moore last year, probably get a contract extension towards the end of the preseason and training camp. I think that's perfectly fine. And even if it does go into the offseason, right? Even if it does go into that, I think the Bears have shown that they take care of their players as long as you perform at the level, as long as you don't have any crazy contract demands, things like that, it's going to be fine. Kyler Gordon's I think he's going to be here with the Chicago Bears. And I'm glad to hear that he has the right mindset in regards to his extension as well. The next player, right, Joe Thuney, who just was acquired by the Chicago Bears, he talked a little bit about his contract extension with that, and he said this: "I'm grateful to be here, and I'm pumped to play. I'll let the business side of it handle it itself. Excited to get on the field with guys in OTAs, and I'm excited to start working. Just looking forward to it." That was with Courtney Cronin. And here's the thing, right? Joe Thuney, as a veteran, and what the Bears have gained in flexibility-wise as far as, if he doesn't work out or something, if they need to call an audible, right? As long as Joe Thuney performs in the way that he's performed for the majority of his career, I don't see that the Chicago Bears are going to not extend Joe Thuney, considering they've been looking for upgrades on the offensive line for years, right? Now, you look at Montez Sweat when he was acquired by the Chicago Bears. He signed a contract extension a few days later after we acquired him. I don't know if that happens with Joe Thuney. I think the Bears have other things that they need to focus on first. They're trying to get through the draft process. If the Bears do start going through things of restructuring contracts and things like that, maybe that opens up to something. But Thuney's a 4-time Super Bowl champion, 2-time All-Pro, right? This is a guy that his pedigree is ridiculous. You look at, he's the 12th highest graded guard per PFF as well at a 79, a 79.9, basically 80 and an 82 pass block grade, which was 5th highest in the NFL. Toney has the resume, he has the performance, and he has a position of need to bring him back, right? So we'll see what happens here with Joe Thuney, but it seems like everybody right now is focused on the business. And that's where you want your team at. Everybody's focused on business and coming in here and proving what the Chicago Bears can be next year. And that's something that we haven't always had, right? We haven't always had a team that levels out and has the level of focus that's needed. And, while there's always going to be storyline things, there's always going to be things, the media, that we talk about as stories because that's what we're here to do. But I think when you look at everybody's just here letting everything be proven on the field. And that's a position where you have a whole team that everybody's focused on. Let's what happens on the field determine everything else. The business is the business, right? The business is always going to be there. We'll handle the business as it's needed, as it's fit to do. But let's go out here and take care of football. That's the important thing. And I tell you what, I love right now that's where we are with the Chicago Bears and with this overall this franchise. We're in a position right now where it seems like everybody is focused on a goal. And that goal is, let's go out there and let's get shit done and let's let everything fall where it is. The Chicago Bears right now have $14.7 million left in cap space, right? Which means that free agency is basically done for the Bears. When you look at the money that we're bringing in with our draft picks, Ryan Poles isn't even going to have the usual cushion that he likes to have with money to spend, and that's fine because guess what? He spent the money. The money's on the field, right? I know what Ryan Poles has typically done here while he's been here, and that's left a little bit of money for any type of needed signings or anything like that, but he went out there and addressed needs. And I think sometimes that comes before having a safety net, so to say, for lack of a better term, with money, whatever you want to call it. And so because of that, like the Bears focusing on the business, still needing to spend money in extensions and things like that, all that's going to come. All that is going to come for the Bears. And I think it's going to come strategically, right? They're going to make those decisions as a team like we saw them do on Hard Knocks last year. But right now, as I've said many times before, it seems like the Bears have really just their actions have matched the words that they've told us. And that's not something that we've always been able to do. When you watch that press conference yesterday, right? For example, a guy like Grady Jarrett, a guy that a lot of people don't really know, like he's bringing that leadership aspect. You can tell by the guy that the way that he talked about and carried himself, that he's a guy that's going to be a leader in that locker room. And that's what you need on a team that's trying to get over the hump from being a team that only won one game in its division to being a team that's now trying to compete within that division, the division that is one of the deepest in the game of football, if not the deepest in the game of football. The 5-12 record, it finally feels like we have a team that's not going to settle for that, and that's not the standard that they're laying out here, right? They got to go out and prove it out on the field. But hearing even Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson and him talking about where players are going to play, right? Talking about where the new guys on the offensive line are going to line up, what they're expected to bring, right? And like I said, the leadership. That's what it finally seems like the Chicago Bears have that we have not had for so long, is a leadership. And we'll see where that gets us, right? This is one of the times where it feels great. But like I've said many times, and this isn't a crap on anybody, it's good to feel great in the offseason. But are we going to feel great once the games start and we start playing games and wins and losses start coming down? That's what it's all focused on. And so the Bears now, with free agency basically done for this team. You may see some small functional signings, some things like that. But overall, I think free agency is done. We still got, some guys. Shout out to Jack Sanborn, who got his deal out with the Cowboys, rejoining Matt Eberflus. A lot of you guys called that. That was something that seemed like it was going to happen. Matt Eberflus was going to go out and get his guy. We'll see how that continues to develop. But for the most part, I know not everybody, there's some Bears fans that read something as far as the Bears having the ability to restructure contracts and gain a whole lot of money. You got to keep in mind, by doing that, you're also losing flexibility in forward years, right? You're basically just pushing that money down and restructuring how it comes off your books. But at the same time, you could be taking away from what you have. Now, the Bears have they're slated to have a huge amount of money in cap space next year, right? And so they can play a little bit with that. But for people that are starting to allow that become their opinion and think, oh, well, the Bears are just gonna restructure everybody. They're gonna be right back players on the free agent market. I think Tuchel will slow down a little bit on that, right? That's a tool to be used when and if needed. It's not something that's a guarantee that the Bears are going to do. So, we'll see what happens with the Bears and how and if they do you start hearing announcements of restructured money, that does point to the Chicago Bears really, gearing up for another acquisition. But I don't think it's going to happen. The trades come and gone. That's not going to happen for the Chicago Bears. The Bears do have right now slated to have $106 million in cap space next year. That's slated right now. We'll see how that goes. You're going to get extensions. You're going to get those type of things that eat into that. But don't think that the restructuring is just something that's going to happen because you heard that it could, right? But with that said, there's one huge decision left here for the Chicago Bears, and that is the evaluation of Braxton Jones. And the reason why I say that is this, right? With number 10, we've already talked about how the Bears have freed up a lot of flexibility. And you have some Bears fans that look at the tackle being the biggest need. I did a poll, and asked what Bears fans think the biggest need is left for the Bears to address. And some of you guys said tackle. I think a big portion of you guys actually said tackle. And it comes down to how the Chicago Bears evaluate Braxton, right? Braxton Jones coming off an injury, which, contrary to what somebody said in the comment section, he's not fully healed from. He's still rehabbing. He's still going through his thing. There's still some questions on if he's going to be fully ready to go by the beginning of training camp. He's projected to be, but there's still some questions about that. So in that poll that I put up, I asked which position is the Bears' biggest remaining need. Left tackle was voted 51%. 27% was the next up with edge rusher, right? But the evaluation that Ryan Poles and this coaching staff have of Braxton Jones is going to be hugely important for what they do at number 10. And I think also the evaluation of the talent there. Let's keep there as well. There's a lot of guys who are listed as tackles right now that some think are going to be moved to guard at the next level in NFL. We'll see. There's no guarantee of that. That's kind of expected. People talk about arm length, things like that, but we've seen people stay at a position. It's really about what they bring. That evaluation of Braxton is really important. He's heading into the last year of his deal, right? Which, with an improved offensive line, there's a case. I know not everybody's going to want to hear it, right? But there's a case to be made that in the last year of that deal, this is the time to really see what Braxton can bring. The offensive line has seen a major increase, right, in talent overall. The offensive line has. And that's great. And so now you want to see how Darnell Wright, maybe Braxton Jones, do with better guards, better work on the interior offensive line, which we've addressed heavily, right? You got Toney, you got Toney, you got Jackson, right? You got these guys in here. So now seeing what those tackles look like with improvement on the interior, that's fair, right? And Braxton is heading into an important thing. Now, bringing in competition. The Bears need depth as well. And how the Bears attack this draft, right? They can find some players that could contend for starters in the second round of this draft at that tackle position. They also could definitely do so in round one. Mbal is still my guy. The guy's still moving up the boards. I love him for the Chicago Bears. But while people are saying, well, the Bears shouldn't go running back, it's not a need, I can understand that point. Some people saying, well, let's look at Braxton before we think that the tackle, I could see that point. But the evaluation of Braxton, as well as the evaluation of what's on the board, as well as other factors like what can they get by trading back? What can they get by staying the same? Like all those type of things are going to go into this. But make no mistake, Braxton and the huge flaw that he has in not being able to handle the bull rush is going to be a huge part of that evaluation as well. And that's what the Bears have to take a look at. So, I think I've always said that at least competition is coming in here, right? Competition is coming. Is that competition slated to start and Braxton Jones is going to have to show that he can hold on to his position? Or is it going to be Braxton Jones slated as a starter and you're bringing in some guys as depth that could eventually become starters, that could show themselves to be starters? Either way, we're going to need some depth at the tackle and overall in that offensive line, and we'll see what happens. Overall, the evaluation that the Bears have of Braxton, that they have of the offensive lineman in this draft, that's going to determine a lot what happens in the draft. And so, I'm sure you'll see that reflected in our draft boards. We're coming out with round 2 mocks probably next week. If I can get all the guys on the same page to get that out next week, and we'll see what happens there. But if the Bears have any doubt about Braxton Jones, best believe they should probably pull that trigger. But you also got to look at a guy like Mike Green, which, people are saying are undersized, right? Mason Graham at defensive tackle. So you have a lot of guys, right? I think when you're looking at the Bears at number 10 right now, if I'm thinking about it, running back Austin Genty, you got Mason Graham at the defensive tackle position, Mike Green at the defensive end position. And then, of course, you got guys that could look to fall. Mbal's a guy that I still have on my board, right, and things like that. So we'll see. The Bears are at a position, like we've been saying, of being able to really have really good flexibility at number 10. And when you give Ryan Poles flexibility, he likes to get to work. So we'll see what that work brings for the Chicago Bears. Man, I think it's going to be really important to watch. Also getting some hybrid offensive linemen in here too. Like typically we've seen it. That may change under Ben Johnson, that we've seen that the Bears like their backup linemen to have a lot of versatility, right? And in that versatility means that you can use those guys in different positions coming off the bench. And that may be where the Bears like to find how they like to fill out their depth coming into this season, right? So, a lot of things to look out for. We still got positions. We're not done yet, right? We may be done in free agency, but we're not done. And I kind of like the fact that the Bears got their free agency kind of out of the way. So now that they can focus on things that are needed the most, in the draft, and they can really just focus in on getting their draft board, seeing to get their mindsets and ideas aligned for what they want to do in the draft, and get their players together, right? On who they have, like who they want in that draft. That's going to be important. You got a new guy in Ben Johnson who Ryan Poles is still probably learning and getting his feeling of the type of players that him and Dennis Allen and the other guys like to fill out the roster. So the fact that free agency is out the way, I think that's a big thing. Now, I want to also talk about Cooper Kupp. Just real quick before we go. The Bears do need theoretically, we need a third wideout, right? Now, that third wideout could be on the roster in Tyler Scott. Maybe it could be somebody that they draft. Maybe it could be somebody like a Tim Patrick that I think is still out there, right? But Cooper Kupp is a dog. Like, we know what Cooper Kupp can bring. I just don't think that the Bears are in that, because just because Cooper Kupp was cut does not mean that he's still not going to be looking to get paid. And the Bears, with what they have right now in money, it doesn't seem like. A team that I'm worried about getting Cooper Kupp, though, that I'll be 100% honest with you, is the Detroit Lions. I think the Detroit Lions are right now maybe geared up to make a move for Cooper Kupp. And if they do, again, the Bears got to worry about themselves and our own talent on our own roster. But you look at a Lions team that has lost a lot, right? Has lost a lot, especially with losing their coordinators. They're going to have to adjust the most that they've had in a while. So look out for that. But overall, I'll say this. The Bears it's probably not going to be in the Cooper Kupp market. The Bears are primarily pretty much done in free agency, and I feel pretty safe in saying that, because $14 million isn't a whole lot to work on when most of your draft picks when all your draft picks are gonna take about 12 to 13 million. So we'll see what the Bears do, but hey, never leave it up. Ryan Poles could get creative, he could get to work, and we'll see what the future does hold there. But guys, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you guys are following us at Chi Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related, but that's thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like we like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but Bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.